Sykes and Ross Charles from the Jupiter Drawing Room are joining me in studio. We are going to be unpacking the future of social media. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining me.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
We're going to be talking about some social media trends, but before we get into it, what is changing when it comes to social media at the moment? I mean, we're going into 2015. What are we seeing changing when it comes to the trends?
It's all changing. I mean, I'm no expert, he's the expert, but I can tell you from a consumer, everything's starting to blur. So if you just take Instagram's now got video, pictures on Twitter, marketing across all, so everybody's bloody advertising. So actually at the moment, there's a bit of a mush. And I think if one starts to put your predictor's cap on, then that says actually the next stage is a polarization.
Yeah.
So actually, we're going to start seeing apps where you're going to become exclusive to something rather than one size fits all, because they're all much of a muchness now. That would be my view.
So where we're at is exactly that. There's just too much.
Yeah.
There's just far too much.
And how do you know which one to use and when to use it? That's a
So
whole
glad you asked.
different
Well,
story.
so glad.
that's what, yeah. I think that's my view is in trying to look into the future. What I thought is I took the essence of each app, and then rather than make it more general, narrowed it and it puts some Tabasco sauce on.
It's delicious.
And then you move forward. So for instance, if you say Facebook is about how great my life is, because you know that's what everybody's showing you, their holiday or their kids or their whatever, and it all looks fabulous. So to me, the next level is competitiveness. So you actually can rank each other. So you rank and score how your life is versus somebody else. You know, and that sounds, you look at it now going, oh, but that sounds silly. But if I told you that 5 years ago people would take selfies all the time and were self-obsessed, you'd go, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But that's what we do.
Yeah.
So I really think that each app is going to go to a more extreme and more defined as to of the essence of what they offer, rather than where we are at the moment, which is one size fits all. Because each app, to try and remain competitive, is adding a feature that the other app has. Just like, you know, when WeChat had voice, now WhatsApp's got voice, and so on. So actually, and that's going to start being boring. And I think you get also, and again, I just see it from a consumer, not from an expert. He's the expert. But we get social media wear out very quick.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, Pinterest, and you're Pinteresting, and then,
And then you're
okay,
like,
you
oh,
get bored.
Pinterest.
So actually, it's anybody's game as to what's next.
So I guess there's always two angles you got to look at. It's the person on the street. What do you do with this sort of barrage of apps and platforms and things available to you? Where do you go? I mean, if everyone's on WhatsApp and you hear everyone's going to WeChat, which one do you use? You know, how do you know what's going on from a just person on the street? From a brand perspective, you know, you've got to go where the fish are. So how do you know as a brand where the right people are doing the things that you would like them to do, that service your brand, engagement, all those good things. I think this is a very important point. I mean, Ross will be the first person to say, that he's got a prediction, but it's probably wrong, and I've got a prediction, and I'm probably wrong. You know, how do we know what's going on out there? And I guess this is also part of when we look to the future. How do we sort of process that way forward? And for me, it's a concept borrowed from a dodgy author called Tim Ferriss, called the selective information diet. There's no possible way to know exactly what Facebook's next big move is. They throw out words like mobile and data, and everyone goes, yes, mobile. But what does that mean? And you hear of all these apps coming out. How do you actually use that? Tinder comes out and all the brands go, oh, we want to use it, but then you realize, can we actually really use Tinder? All the complications around it. So for me, finding out what's happening next isn't so much as looking at the landscape online and sort of burying your head in articles and research. It's about having conversations. So the people around you, the lemmings out there who's spending their time sort of on blogs, on websites, busy figuring out what the next big thing is, the really big things will bubble to the top. at the end of the day. If you're always trying to just, understand every single micro move of every single channel, you'll just be absolutely exhausted.
So, like you said, it sounds exhausting to sift through all of these modes of social media. Now, how do we choose the ones? We can't just wait for them to bubble to the top. How do we choose which ones are effective now?
That's the beauty of it. By the time it gets to critical mass and enough people are there, you'll know that it's right. And we're not talking about all of a sudden overnight you're going to get 20 million users on a platform. You'll see that steady growth. For in marketing, it's absolutely terrible when everyone starts in 1 week saying Elo out of the States, the anti-social social network. Everyone's there. You dig deep into the numbers and you realize there's about 4 people there. It really isn't as big as everyone's saying. And you spend all this time and resource focusing on something, trying to project what it might become, as opposed to looking what's already here, what's already in the stable. So looking at WeChat and how can we, better leverage that. The numbers are already there. How do we better use what we do have, as opposed to trying to find the next new thing the whole time.
Yeah.
The next new thing guaranteed will bubble to the top.
Yeah.